What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and today we're going to have another continuation of the Eric Lindros trade as we look at the Wendel Clark trade, which occurred back on June 28th, 1994. Now, this was a surprise when this trade happened, as Toronto fans weren't expecting it, Nordiques fans weren't expecting it, although we will be referring to the Nordiques as the Colorado Avalanche for the entirety of this video, and Wendel Clark himself was not expecting it. Wendel Clark was the captain of the Maple Leafs at the time of the trade, and he was one of the most respected players. In fact, a lot of players, a generation of hockey stars, grew up idolizing Wendel Clark. So this trade was important and probably would have been discussed at some point, even if it were not for the connecting pick, that 1994 first-round pick, 10th overall, which Toronto got, which was acquired in the second video of the Eric Lindros trade. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to start by discussing what the Colorado Avalanche got. So the first player that they got was left wing Wendel Clark. And Clark, he was once more a big, a veteran leader for this team. And he would register 12 goals with 18 assists across 37 games in a lockout-shortened 94-95 season. Now, he ends up becoming intertwined in a massive contract dispute, and they end up trading him in a rare 3-team NHL trade. Now, this trade involved the Nordiques, or we'll call them, like I said, Avalanche, the Islanders, and the Devils. And it saw the Colorado Avalanche get right wing Claude Lemieux from the Devils. The Islanders got left wing Wendel Clark from the Avalanche, and the Devils got right wing Steve Thomas from the Islanders. We will get back to the Islanders and the Devils shortly. So Claude Lemieux in Colorado, he was decent. So in a little over 4 years in the system, Lemieux put up solid numbers. He would score 106 goals with 106 assists. He also registered 381 penalty minutes, and he was a key piece in their 95-96 Cup run. Now, he ends up getting traded to the New Jersey Devils, back to the Devils, for two assets. The first one was center Brian Rolston, and the other one was a 2000 first-round pick. So we'll start by discussing Rolston. Rolston played 50 games for the team. He would score 8 goals to go with 10 assists before he was traded. Now, he is traded alongside the 2000 first-round pick, 27th overall, to the Boston Bruins, and this trade will be discussed in a future Ray Bjork video, so definitely stay tuned for that. It will be a fun one. So that's what Colorado got from Wendel Clark. How about the other players that they got? So the next one we're going to look at is defenseman Slavin Lefebvre. And Lefebvre, he had a career-high 5 goals in his first season with the team. And over 5 years, he would register 11 goals with 61 assists. And he was a good shot blocker and a good fighter. But defensive stats were not recorded back then, so I can't tell you his exact defensive stats. But he could, like I said, fight. He was a one-time Stanley Cup winner before he walked from the organization. They also got right wing Landon Wilson. In over parts of 2 years, Wilson played 16 games at the NHL level, where he provided a pair of goals and a pair of assists before he was traded to the Boston Bruins with another asset for a 1998 first-round pick, 19th overall. With that 19th overall pick, the Avalanche would select defenseman Robin Regehr, and Regehr ends up getting traded to the Calgary Flames for 2 assets before making his NHL debut for the team. Now, the 2 assets that they got for him were both wings. The first one we'll look at is right wing Thierry Fleury. Now, Fleury was a big name at the time of this trade, and he really stood out for Colorado. He would score 10 goals with 14 assists over 15 games in the regular season, and he continued to play well in the postseason that year, but as a free agent, they were unable to re-sign him, and he did walk. They also got left wing Chris Dingman. Now, Dingman would play 110 games over 2.5 years for the team, but he would only register 9 goals with 4 assists, although he did pile up 247 penalty minutes. Now, he gets traded to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for a 2001 fifth-round pick. This would become the 149th pick. With that, the team would select defenseman Mikko Vaintanen, and Vaintanen spent some time in the AHL but never made it up to the NHL. Now, lastly, Colorado did get a 1994 first-round pick. This would be the 22nd overall pick. With that, they would select defenseman Jeff Keatley, and Keatley never made it to the NHL level. So now we have Toronto, and Toronto made a lot of moves as well, so this is where it gets a little messy. So the first thing that they got, the reason we're doing this trade is that 1994 first round pick, 10th overall. Now they would trade this pick to Washington in exchange for the 16th pick and a center. So the 16th pick was used to select goaltender Eric Fashad, and Fashad was traded to the Islanders before playing an NHL game for the Maple Leafs. Now he's traded for 3 assets as the team, they felt that they were comfortable with their goaltender situation. And those 3 assets would be center Benoit Hogue, who would play 56 games across parts of 2 years, where he would score 15 goals with 28 assists before he himself was traded, along with a pair of draft picks. But he was traded to the Dallas Stars along with another player for a player and a pick. So the player that they got was center Dave Gagner, and Gagner would score 7 goals with 15 assists in a half season before being traded to Calgary for a 1996 third-round pick. This would be the 66th overall selection. With that, the team would select defenseman Mike Lancashire, and Lancashire did not make it above the ECHL level for the team. So now we're going to go back to this one, where for Benoit Hogue, they also got a 1996 6th-rounder. This would be the 140th pick. With that, the team would select defenseman Dmitry Yakushin, and Yakushin returned to the KHL after a pair of games in the NHL, but he did spend 3 years in the AHL for the team. Now back up to the Fashad trade, Toronto also got a pair of draft picks. The first one we're going to look at is a 1995 third-rounder. This would be the 54th overall pick. With that, they would select right wing Ryan Pepperell, and Pepperell would walk after 3 lackluster years in the AHL. They also got a 1996 5th-round pick. This would become the 111th pick. They would pick another right wing, this time in Brandon Sugden. And Sugden, he spent a couple of years in the ECHL before leaving the team. Like I said, a bit messy. Now, for the 10th pick, they also got center Mike Ridley, and Ridley would score 10 goals with 27 assists across 48 games before he was, guess what, traded away to the Vancouver Canucks for left wing Sergio Momesso. Now, Momesso, for the team, he would score 15 points across a half season before he was traded to the New York Rangers for right wing Wayne Presley. And Presley would not do as well. He would only score 2 goals and add 2 assists over 19 games before he would leave as a free agent. Yes, messy. Now we get to the big name that they got. So the Toronto Maple Leafs in the original Wendel Clark trade also got 3 players. The first that we're going to look at is center Matt Sundin. Now Sundin, he was amazing. He spent 13 years as a valuable asset in Toronto. He would score a combined 420 goals with 567 assists. Now, his best year in Toronto was the 96-97 season, in which he scored 41 goals with 53 assists. He would score 30 or more goals in 11 of his 13 years in Toronto, and he actually managed to average more than a point per game. He led the league with 10 game-winning goals in the 03-04 season. Now, he would end up leaving the team as a free agent, but Sundin definitely left his mark in the organization. He made the Hall of Fame. He was a 9-time All-Star. He was a 1-time Mark Messier Leadership Award winner, and he holds multiple Maple Leafs franchise records, including goals with 420, points with 987, game-winning goals with 79, and even-strength goals with 273. Great acquisition. You know, as much as it hurt for them to lose Wendel Clark, I'm sure they were okay with it with Sundin. So it stinks, but in the end, it worked out. Although, you know, he didn't get a cup for the team, but that is what it is. Now, they also got 2 more assets in this trade. The first one we'll look at is defenseman Garth Butcher. And Butcher, he had 1 goal with 7 assists over 45 games before he was released by the team. Lastly, we have left wing Todd Warnier. And Warnier, over parts of 6 years, he recorded 36 goals with 48 assists over 253 games before he was traded. Now, he is traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for a draft pick. This would be the 2000 third rounder, which would become the 70th overall pick. With that pick, Toronto would select goaltender Mikael Tellqvist. And Tellqvist spent parts of 4 years as backup, recording a 16-16-4 record. He had an .895 save percentage and a 3.01 goals against average before he was traded to the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for a pair of assets. The first one was left wing Tyson Nash, Nash, who spent a season in the AHL before leaving to go play in Asia. They also got a 2007 fourth-round pick. This would be the 99th overall selection. With that, the team would select right wing Matt Fortin. And Fortin, he would actually, over 82 games, spread across 3 years, record 15 goals with 13 assists before being traded. This trade will be discussed in a future Jonathan Bernier trade breakdown. A lot of trades were done in this trade, so now let's look at the secondary teams. So the first one we're going to look at is the New York Islanders. So they would get left wing Wendel Clark from Colorado in this 3-team trade. And he would score 24 goals with 19 assists over 58 games before he was traded once more. We will not be discussing that. So, yeah. Now, they also gotta find it, goaltender Eric Fashad from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he would serve as a backup goaltender for 3 years. He didn't do that well, though. He had a 19-34-9 record with an .899 save percentage and a 3.14 goals against average. Now, he dealt with a nagging shoulder injury throughout his time in New York, and it's safe to say he failed to meet expectations for the team. Now, he ends up getting traded away for pennies on the dollar, but we will not be discussing that trade. Next, we have the New Jersey Devils. Now, in the 3-team trade, they managed to get right wing Steve Thomas from the Islanders. And Steve Thomas had a productive 3 years in New Jersey, where he scored 55 goals with 64 assists before walking as a free agent. Now, they were also involved in another trade with Colorado. This time they got 3 assets for 2. And the first one we'll look at is right wing Claude Lemieux, who they liked and they wanted him back, so they got him back. And Lemieux had 17 goals with 21 assists over 70 games, helping the team win the Stanley Cup before he walked as a free agent. They also got a pair of draft picks in 2000, a first and second rounder. So the first rounder would be the 22nd overall. With that, they would pick defenseman David Hale, and David Hale would play 146 games in the NHL, where he failed to score a single goal, but he did register 9 assists before being traded away. That second rounder would become the 57th overall pick. With that, they would select defenseman Matt DeMarchi. And DeMarchi, he spent a couple years in the AHL before leaving the system to go play in Europe. Next, we have Boston. So Boston got a pair of assets in exchange for a first-round pick. Those assets would be right wing Landon Wilson, who bounced between the AHL and the NHL for parts of 4 years, playing in 130 games at the NHL level, scoring 12 goals with 21 assists before walking, and defenseman Anders Myvold, and he would only register 2 assists over 9 games before leaving the team as a free agent. Next, we have Calgary. So Calgary was a part of 2 separate trades. Their one with Colorado saw them get 4 assets in exchange for 2. Now, the first one we'll look at is defenseman Robin Regeer. And Regeer, shortly after being acquired by the team, was involved in a car accident that broke both of his legs. Now, some feared that he would actually never be able to play hockey again, but only 2 months later, he was practicing with the AHL team. He would really be a good player. He would spend 11 years in Calgary, where he would record 29 goals with 134 assists, but he also acquired 802 penalty minutes. He was known for hits and blocks as well, but defensive stats were not tracked when he played, unfortunately. His best year was the 05-06 season, where he recorded 6 goals, a career high, and 20 assists, another career high. Actually, the assist was not, but yeah, and then he ends up getting traded away, but we will not be discussing that. So they essentially won this trade, but they got more from the trade. So they got a pair of wings, the first one being right wing Wade Belek, and Belek would appear in 72 games over parts of 3 years, where he would only score 3 assists, but he made his impact known with penalty minutes, where he acquired 224 before he got waived. They got left wing Rene Colbert, and Corbett, over parts of 2 years, he would score 9 goals with 14 assists in 68 games before he was traded away. Not going to discuss that. They also got a 2000 second round pick. This would be the 46th pick. With that, they would select center Jarrett Stoll, and Stoll did not sign with the team. Now, they also made a trade with Toronto that saw them get center Dave Gagner, and Dave Gagner had 27 goals with 33 assists before he would walk, so he was pretty solid as well. Next, we have the Carolina Hurricanes, who got left wing Chris Dingman, and Dingman would have 77 penalty minutes and a single assist over 30 games before walking. Again, this was older hockey, so there was a lot of enforcers. Next, we have the Washington Capitals. So they got a pair of assets. The first was the 1994 10th overall pick. And with that, they would select defenseman Nolan Bumgarner. And Bumgarner, he would appear in 18 games over 3 years at the NHL level for the Washington Capitals organization. And he was slowed by a shoulder injury. He would only record a pair of assists in his NHL career for the team before being traded away. We will not be discussing that. They also got right wing Rob Pearson, who would score 6 assists over 32 games at the NHL level before he was also traded away, but we will not be discussing that. Next, we have the Dallas Stars, who got a pair of players in exchange for a pair of assets. The first player that we're going to look at is center Benoit Hogue, and over 3.5 years, he would score 32 goals with 60 assists before he would walk as a free agent. They also got left wing Randy Wood, who would have a single goal and 4 assists over 30 games before walking as a free agent as well. Next, we have the Vancouver Canucks, who got center Mike Ridley, and he would play 112 games over 2 years for the team, and he would score 26 goals with 47 assists over those 2 years before walking. Then we have the New York Rangers, who got left wing Sergio Momesso, and Momesso would score 4 goals and 4 assists over 28 games before leaving the team. We also have the Tampa Bay Lightning, who got left wing Todd Warnier, and he would, over a year and a half, score 21 goals and 24 assists before he was traded away. We will not be discussing that. Lastly, we have the Arizona Coyotes, who got goaltender Mikael Tungquist. And Tungquist, he spent parts of 3 years as a backup. He would have a 27-24-6 record with a 3.06 goals against average and a .897 save percentage before he was also traded, but we will not be discussing that. So this was a longer video, but this was the Wendel Clark trade breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was again a continuation of the Eric Lindros trade, and we have a couple more trades that we will be linking in the bottom when they are up, including of course Ray Bourque, and yeah, it would be nice, Jonathan Bernier as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good rest of your day.